He helped a little boy without knowing who his father was. It was another one of those long nights when the world seemed to forget he existed. The headlights cut through the darkness of the deserted road like two eyes attentive to the pitch. The constant roar of the old engine was the only company of Miguel, a 57-year-old truck driver who had already crossed almost all of Brazil on wheels. A man of few words, calloused hands and tired but firm eyes. He knew the smell of dawn and the silence of the road like no one else. In the passenger seat, a thermos with coffee already half cold. On the panel, faded photos of his two children, now adults, and his wife who died 5 years ago. The nostalgia always went in the back seat. He followed, always forward. That stretch of BR-163 was known among truck drivers as the Dark Corridor, because of the tall weeds, poor lighting, and numerous cases of robberies. But Miguel had already faced something worse. What he feared most now was the engine going to malfunction. His truck, an old Scania model from the 90s, was starting to show signs of fatigue. The gear scratched, the brakes squeaked, and the steering was no longer so reliable. Even so, Miguel never complained. He was grateful for every trip, for every load delivered. He was grateful to still be there, doing what he did best, moving forward, even when everything seemed too heavy. That night he was carrying lumber. The freight was long and the money was short, as always. But he was honest. Miguel was proud of that. With his eyes on the horizon and a cheesy song playing softly on the radio, he felt that this night would be like any other. Long, lonely, and unsurprising, but he was wrong. Very soon, the road would show that sometimes it is precisely in the middle of the most common routine that the extraordinary happens. It was after midnight when the fog began to descend slowly on the asphalt. The road was deserted, as if the whole world had fallen asleep except Miguel and his old truck. The radio sizzled. The music stopped playing. He slapped the device lightly but did not return. The silence became thicker. A strange foreboding flashed through him like a chill on the back of his neck. It was then that, about 100 meters ahead, something caught his attention. A small figure, standing in the middle of the road. Miguel frowned. He stepped slowly on the brakes and pulled the high beam. The figure took shape. He was a boy, alone, in the middle of the road. But what? The truck squeaked as he pulled to the side of the road, his heart pounding in his chest. That was not normal. That was dangerous. Many truck drivers had already been victims of traps like this. Someone pretended to be injured or lost, and when the driver stopped, he was surrounded by robbers. Miguel looked around. Nothing. Only darkness and a bush on both sides of the road. No car, no sign of life. He hesitated. It could be an ambush, but also it could be someone in need of real help. He took a deep breath. He took his flashlight, locked the truck, and got off, walking cautiously. The boy was huddled up, arms crossed. Across his chest, dusty clothes and bare feet. He was no more than 7 or 8 years old. Miguel illuminated the boy's face with the flashlight and saw his eyes shine with fear and tears. "Hey, boy. What are you doing here alone?" The boy took a step back, trembling. "I'm hungry and I'm afraid," he whispered. That thin, fragile voice cut Miguel like a blade. All the tension he carried on his shoulders seemed to melt away. Calm down, it's okay. I won't hurt you. Come, let's get off the road, it's dangerous here." Miguel held out his hand. The boy hesitated, looked to the sides as if waiting for someone to appear from the woods. But nothing. Only silence. Finally, he approached. Miguel put his coat on the boy's shoulders and led him to the truck. Inside, he took a lunchbox of rice and cold chicken from the portable refrigerator and handed it to the boy, who ate it voraciously, as if he hadn't seen food for days. "What's your name, boy?" The boy looked at him with big eyes. "Leo. My name is Leo." Miguel nodded, watching him. "It's okay now, Leo, you're safe." But deep down, Miguel wondered, where did this boy come from? Where were his parents? What did a child do alone on a secluded road at midnight? He didn't know it yet, but he had. Just taken the first step in a story that would change his life forever. The truck's engine roared softly as Miguel returned to the road, now with little Leo sitting next to him. The boy, still visibly shaken, held with both hands a glass of chocolate milk that Miguel had prepared with hot water from the thermos. "Are you calmer now, boy?" Miguel asked, casting a corner glance while keeping his hands firmly on the steering wheel. Leo nodded, saying nothing. His eyes scanned every detail of the truck's ride with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion, as if he was still trying to understand if it was all real, or just another strange dream. Or worse, a nightmare. "You got lost, is that it?" Miguel insisted in a calm voice. "I was with my father and mother. Then I went to play and when I saw it, I was already alone," said Leo, his voice breaking. Miguel didn't press. He knew that words came when they were ready. And for now, what this boy needed most was a safe place. The truck driver took a blanket that he kept folded behind the seat and handed it to the boy. "Here, you cover yourself. It's cold at this time." Leo wrapped himself in the blanket like a frightened animal. Silence settled again, filled only by the sound of the engine, the wind, and a soft instrumental music that was now playing on the radio, as if the universe had understood the moment. During a stop at a simple roadside gas station, Miguel bought a package of cookies and a juice box. The boy followed him closely, clinging to the hem of the trucker's jacket, as if he feared being left behind again. In the cab of the truck, Miguel reclined the passenger seat and improvised a bed with blankets and an old pillow. Leo lay there, exhausted, and in a few minutes he fell asleep with the sound of the engine lulling his sleep. Miguel stayed awake for a while, looking at the boy. Something about that boy moved him in a strange way. He didn't know who Leo was, where exactly he came from, or how he had ended up alone on the road, but he knew one thing: he had done the right thing. There was no money in that freight that paid for the feeling of having saved a life. Before driving again, he whispered to himself, "You're safe now, little boy. I'll take you home, whatever the cost." The truck started running again at dawn, cutting through the darkness with its steady headlights. But now, inside that old, worn-out cabin, there was something new. A different purpose. It was already morning when Miguel parked the truck at a larger station, one of those with a restaurant, showers, and a small market for truck drivers. He wanted to take a break, let Leo rest a little more, and try to better understand what to do from then on. The boy was still sleeping, curled up in the passenger seat, his face serene, different from the frightened look of the night before. Miguel got out of the truck slowly, bought hot cheese, bread, milk, and some fruit. He came back, put everything on the panel, and stayed there, waiting for the boy to wake up. About half an hour later, Leo opened his eyes, sleepy. "Good morning, champion," said Miguel with a gentle smile. "Are you hungry again?" Leo smiled shyly and nodded. While eating, he began to move the truck driver's things with the naturalness of a curious child. He rummaged through a box with magazines and brochures of used trucks, old maps, and even some issues of Forbes magazine, which Miguel had kept for some reason that he could not even explain. Of repentance, Leo Perot. "This is my father." Miguel, who was leaning against the door drinking coffee, turned slowly. "What's it like?" Leo held up the magazine, pointing to the cover with his finger. It was a special edition about the great entrepreneurs of the automotive industry. On the cover, smiling in an impeccably tailored suit, was the face of a man in his mid-40s, light eyes, hair slicked back, holding a miniature truck next to the company's logo, Scania. "That's my father. He owns this factory here. He is always traveling to show the trucks he makes." Miguel picked up the magazine and looked again. That wasn't just a businessman. It was Enrique Vasconcelos, CEO of Scania Latin America, one of the richest and most influential men in the transport sector. He had already heard the name on the news and in truckers' circles, but he never imagined that he would bump into someone so connected to him, let alone his own child. Miguel settled on the bench, still processing. "You're saying Who is the son of this man here? Yes, my father is very busy, but he's cool. He always plays with me when he's at home. I got lost when we stopped on a road to take pictures. I ran after a bird, and when I saw it, they were no longer there. Miguel was silent for a few seconds. The boy was not just lost. He was the son of one of the most powerful men in the country, and Miguel ran into him by chance in the middle of nowhere. The gravity of the situation weighed on him. The boy was probably being frantically searched. News, helicopters, police. Boy, do you have any idea how many people must be looking for you right now? Leo looked at him innocently and replied, I just wanted to go home. Miguel sighed, deeply looked once again at the man's face in the magazine and said, Then that's where we're going. Now it was no longer just a good deed, it was a mission, and Miguel was determined to comply. Miguel looked at the road ahead as if, suddenly, she had gained another weight. The boy slept again in the passenger seat, now with a full belly and with a new pillow under his head, a gift from an employee of the station's restaurant who was moved by the story. With the Forbes magazine open by his side, Miguel studied the face of the man on the cover, Enrique Vasconcelos, CEO of Scania. The name now had a different meaning. He was Leo's father, a powerful, rich man. But that, at that moment, he must have been desperate. Miguel took a deep breath. My head was buzzing with questions. What if someone else had found this boy? What if he had been taken by someone with bad intentions? What if he had become a tragedy statistic, like so many other children lost on the roads? He knew he couldn't just call the local police or drop him off at a shelter. Leo needed to return to the arms of his family. And now Miguel felt it was his responsibility to ensure that. He started the engine. The familiar rumble filled the cabin, but it sounded different this time. It wasn't just a work trip, it was something bigger. We'll take you home, champion, he murmured softly, even with the boy asleep. Before hitting the road, he went to the counter of the station and asked to use the Wi-Fi. He searched for the name Enrique Vasconcelos' disappeared son, and, as he suspected, found dozens of recent articles. Son of Scania CEO disappears during family trip. Security forces search for 8-year-old child missing on tourist route. Family offers millionaire reward for information. Miguel shook his head. He didn't care about money. He never cared. All he wanted was to do the right thing. It saved the address of the company's headquarters, located in São Bernardo do Campo, in the state of São Paulo, the city where Scania maintained not only its headquarters, but also the command center of the search, according to the reports. It was far away, travel hours, but he was used to it. What moved him now was not a freight, it was the heart. Before continuing, he wrote a message to the cargo contractor, warning that he would have to postpone the delivery due to a serious, unforeseen event. He did not give further details. On the panel, he pasted a handwritten paper, "Most important load of my life." With his tires creaking against the asphalt and his heart heavier than ever, Miguel got back on the road, now with a new destiny, and with the certainty that life was giving him the chance to be a hero off the routine tracks of the profession. The Yash, big city, appeared on the horizon like a mirage after hours on the road. The tall buildings and the accelerated coming and going contrasted with the lonely and constant pace that Miguel was used to. But none of that mattered at that moment. His focus was only one: to return Leo to his family. The address he had found led to Scania's administrative headquarters, a huge modern building surrounded by security and with gleaming logos on the glass walls. It was there that the company was coordinating the searches, as the reports said. Miguel parked his truck, old, smeared with red dust and faded by the sun, amid luxury cars and shiny pickup trucks. The contrast was stark. He got out and opened the cabin door carefully. Leo, who was sleeping again, woke up slowly. "We're here, little boy." "Is this my father's house?" "Here. That's where he'll find you." The security guard approached, cautious. "Good afternoon, sir. This is a restricted location. I need to talk to Mr. Enrique Vasconcelos. It is urgent. I have news about his son." The security guard frowned, suspicious. "What?" Miguel pointed to Leo. "It's him. The boy that everyone is looking for. It's here, it's safe and sound." The radio on the security guard's waist jingled immediately. Within seconds, a movement began. People hurriedly leaving the building. An aide shouting names. And then he appeared. Enrique Vasconcelos. The man Miguel had seen stamped on the cover of the magazine. Now it wasn't the billionaire, the CEO, the successful executive. He was just a desperate father, with the sunken eyes of someone who hadn't slept for days. When he saw his son, he froze. "Leo." "Father." The boy got out of the truck running, stumbling with emotion. Enrique received him in his arms as if the whole world had returned to its place. He cried, and he cried loudly. She hugged her son with the strength of someone who was afraid of never feeling that touch again. Miguel stood silent, his hands in his pockets. I watched the scene as if witnessing a miracle. An employee took pictures. Another was crying. Some applauded discreetly. Henry looked at him, teary-eyed. Was you that brought my son back?" Miguel just nodded discreetly. "He was in the middle of the road, scared, hungry, I couldn't let it." Henry walked up to him and without thinking twice, hugged him. It was a strong, sincere hug. A wordless thanks. "You saved my son. I don't even know where to start thanking." Miguel just shook his head. "I didn't do it out of gratitude. I did it because it was the right thing." But at that moment, Enrique was already looking at the truck parked next to him. His gaze stopped on the worn tires, the scratched bodywork, the windows of electrical tape. "Is that the truck you drive?" "Yes. He's old, but he takes me where I need to go." Enrique said nothing. He only made a gesture to one of his aides, who was already pulling out his phone. In seconds, the gesture that would change Miguel's life forever was in gear. But Miguel didn't know that yet. At that moment, what mattered was that the boy was safe. The mission was accomplished. He turned back to the truck, ready to walk away quietly, but fate still had one more surprise to deliver. Miguel already had his hand on the handle of the truck when he heard his name being called firmly. "You're Miguel!" He turned slowly. Enrique was coming towards her, now with a different posture, still emotional but more restrained, with a determined look. Behind him, 2 security guards pushed a side gate that gave access to the internal courtyard of the headquarters. In the background, a row of shiny trucks, Scania's latest models all ready for delivery or exhibition. Henry stopped in front of him. "Do you have a minute?" Miguel nodded, suspicious. Enrique gestured for her to accompany him to the courtyard. "Look, I know you didn't do this expecting anything in return. But when a man saves the most precious asset in our life, we need to give back in some way." Miguel was silent, walking beside him. When he got close to one of the trucks, Enrique stopped. It was a Scania R500 0-kilometer model, metallic paint, cabin with state-of-the-art technology, automated transmission, air conditioning, bed with anti-noise system. A dream on wheels. "This truck, it's yours now." Miguel was static. Time seemed to stop. "What do you mean? Your current truck may even be a warrior, but it's asking for help. It is not fair for a man like you, with such integrity, to continue driving on the roads at the risk of getting in the way. This one is yours. For courage, for compassion, and for reminding me and many people that there is still humanity in this world." Miguel widened his eyes. He put his hand on his head, took a step back. "This truck is worth more than anything I've ever won in my entire life." Enrique gave a half smile. "Maybe, but your attitude is worth more than anything money can afford." Tears came without Miguel being able to contain it. That man, hard as the asphalt he crossed, now doubled in emotion. He cried, standing up in silence. His body vibrated with gratitude. "I don't even know what to say. Just say that you will continue to be this example, and that this truck will take you farther than you ever imagined." Enrique handed the key into Miguel's calloused hands. He held it as one who holds a trophy, but not a running trophy. A trophy of life. In the background, some employees applauded discreetly. A company photographer recorded the moment for an internal statement, but also moved. He didn't know where to focus. On the shiny, powerful machine, or on the simple man who had just achieved something so great just for being decent in a world that doesn't always reward it? Miguel ran his hand over the body of the new truck. He took a deep breath. I never imagined that a gesture would bring me here. Henry looked him in the eye. The world needs more people who act without expecting anything in return. Today you taught me that. Outside Scania's headquarters, the new truck gleamed in the afternoon sun, as if it shone brighter than any other in the yard. But for Miguel, it was more than a vehicle. It was the symbol of a turning point, an embrace of fate he never expected. Sitting in the new ride, with the smell of clean upholstery and technology everywhere, he was still getting used to it. The cabin was quiet, comfortable. Everything worked with a simple touch. The digital mirrors looked like something out of a movie. But what touched him the most was the sign on the dashboard, discreetly placed by the Scania team. To Miguel, for his humanity, for your courage. Vasconcelos family. Miguel ran his fingers over the letters. My heart tightened. He never wanted recognition. He never needed the spotlight. But in that gesture, he felt seen, respected, rewarded for never having deviated from what he believed in, doing the right thing, even when no one is looking. In the rearview mirror, he saw Leo and his parents saying goodbye to him with waves and emotional smiles. The boy ran to the window of the truck, climbed a step, and stretched out his arms. "You're my hero!" he shouted, his eyes shining. Miguel smiled widely, holding back his emotion. "And you're braver than a lot of adults I know, little boy," they said. "Goodbye." And then Miguel sped up. The powerful engine roared softly, firmly. The feeling of driving that truck was as if he were starting his life over. Only this time, with dignity, comfort, and renewed pride. By the roads he crossed, now Miguel was not just another truck driver among many. He had become a living symbol of integrity. And although he did not seek fame, his story quickly began to circulate. Days later, his face was plastered on news sites, TV shows, and publications about real-life heroes. But him, he kept turning, delivering loads with the same humility as always. The difference was that now he carried something more. The certainty that even in such a fast-paced world, kindness still has the strength to stop everything and change destinies. And to those who asked him if he felt that his life had changed, Miguel only answered, "I'm still the same. The difference is that now, when I look in the rearview mirror, I see that it was worth it."